Dengan goyang-goyang ya.
Good afternoon everyone. Hope you all are in very good health. Inshallah, today we are from group 4. We would like to share our next grammatical form in this basic voice. And then my name is Fitri. There are 4 of us all together in the group. Sini, Munir, and Utir. Before my friend and Sini will deliver our materi, I would like to say thank you to Mr. Romi who has given us the opportunity to stand here. Thank you.
Perfecto, perfecto.
Bravo.
Perfecto.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, everyone. Thank you very much, my cutest friend Fitri. And today I will present passive voice. We are from group 4. Today we all of group 4 not all attend the presentation, which Munir cannot attend this because
Posisi.
of the busyness. Okay, let's we see at the passive voice. Passive voice is the opposite from the active voice, which in passive voice, the subject is the recipient of action from the subject. For example, the ball was thrown by Jordan, and the other one is the basket was shot by Jordan. The scores was made by Jordan. As we see here, for the thrown, the shoot and made is action and being picked up by Jordan. Okay, next, please. Next. Sure. You done? Okay. And today I will explain to you passive voice in some tenses, and other of some tenses will be also presented by Fitri maybe later. The first one is passive voice. Here, this one is for which the formula to be that we are mostly used in passive voice like is, are, plus is, plus by, and then pronouns. For example, I will explain to you for the
He buys the S, yeah, he buys.
okay.
So the thing.
He buys a pen. For the passive, the pen is bought by him. Then the second one is using to be is and are plus in plus property plus by. I study English is in active voice, and the passive voice is English is being inspired by me. This one for the simple tense. And it's next. The second one is passive voice at the simple past tense, with the formula in passive voice to be, was, were, plus for 3 plus 5. For example, the castle was built by the king of Sparta. Addition, past perfect continuous had plus been plus 14. Next, present continuous. Present continuous tense. The active is always, and also the other of tenses is always the doing the action is doing by the subject, but in passive voice, the past verb 3. For example, a camera has been bought by him. Or V3 when you want to present it.
Oke. Ini ingatnya sama aja sih. Oke, for number 4, simple future tense. For active, subject plus will or shall plus verb 1 and object. And then for passive, will or shall plus be plus verb 3. For example, active, my sister will cook rawon rice for me. For passive, the rawon rice will be cooked for me by my sister. And then simple future for perfect. In here, for example, active, he will fly the new plane. For passive, the new plane will have been flown by him. And then in here, number 6, future paper continuous. For active, Dad will have been renting a new house.
Okay,
And then for active, Dad will repair a new house. And then number 8, future perfect. For example, active, Fitri would have been write a letter. And then passive, a letter would have been written by Fitri. Thank you. Di sini.
Udah?
Udah? Finish?
Masih ada waktu menjelaskan
Udah. Oh no, and then di sini ya, ada juga yang tenses tidak bisa dibikin passive. For example, number 1, present perfect continuous, and then past perfect continuous, and then future continuous, and then last sentence with intransitive verb. Okay, thank you.
Masih ada waktu untuk menjelaskan 15 menit.
Itu Jimmy tulisannya banyak banget itu. Kamu nanya-nanya.
Enggak, belum. Enggak, soalnya waktunya menjelaskan masih 15 menit.
Yes, I know. I asked them to make it short. I'll get conclusion. Intinya, assalamualaikum. Passive voice, seperti yang kita tahu di dalam bahasa Indonesia, kalau passive voice itu dari aktif dipasifkan menjadi di ya. And then we have some form. Formulanya itu pasti to be. Depends. Kita lihat ke tensesnya. Makanya dari tadi ada beberapa tenses yang dijelaskan. And then perubahan to be dan lain-lain lagi dilihat dari tensesnya. And then we use past participle, which is kayak tadi yang pertama ada kurang dijelaskan bentuk tenses apa. So simple present we put as
plus S. Forgot S on
simple
buys.
present.
The first PPT.
He buys a pen. Dia
benar, Bet.
Iya benar.
Iya.
Dia membeli sebuah pensil, itu aktif dipasifkan menjadi a pen is bought again. This is the to be, and then we have verb participle here, verb 3, and then buy. Buy itu lebih ke yes or no, tapi biasanya kalau pasif itu pasti oleh. Jadi pulpen ini dibeli oleh siapa? And then we use him, refer to he as the kata ganti. Ya, and then sama kayak yang simple present continuous. Kita lihat di formnya dari verb in, and then ini aktifnya dipasifkan masih sama kita bentuknya tapi beda dengan bentuk i-nya di sini jadi being, to be sama masih is, and then we use verb 3 years studied. By me refers to I. And so on. In general, pada umumnya mengapa kita memakai passive voice? Passive voice itu pada umumnya kita memakai karena the subject itself, subject itu sendiri is not really important or mungkin tidak important, but we really need to know, we don't really need to know. Kayak misalnya nanti I'll give you some thing to watch. And then number 2, untuk masih sedikit related, subjeknya kita nggak fokus ke subjek, intinya ke what happened with the pen, intinya apa yang terjadi dengan si objek. And then number 3, untuk biasanya kalau kita melakukan writing task, if you want to make it really good, kita perlu banyak memakai variasi sentences, jadi biar nggak boring. Contoh, I'll give you the video. Biasanya kita minimal, kalau writing itu minimal, if you really want to make it in a good writing task, so 300 to 400 words, right? Jadi kalau kita yang minim vocab, minim kosakata, kita gunakan passive voice untuk mempervariasi, jadi kalimat kita itu tidak boring. And then coherency of sentences, of the flowness of the sentences. Jadi biar sentence-nya itu lebih dari one sentence to another lebih they have a good relations, lebih enak gitu, lebih ngeflow. That's how we make a really good sentence. Generalnya kita pakai passive voice banyak banget, and then if you really want to understand more, Mbak bisa nonton YouTube sendiri.
Bisa.
Ke bawah.
Itu perkecil aja, perkecil. Kurangin.
Minimas.
Yang
Sebelahnya
sebelah
Kak.
itu.
Min.
Yang satu.
Min. Minus Kak. Ya. Nah.
Mana sih YouTube?
Bawah.
Tuh crop Kak. Klik. Itu bukannya layarnya bisa dipencet ya, Mbak? Klik. Enggak. Enggak bisa. Biasanya touch screen. Klik touch screen.
Apa nggak bisa Kak?
Touch screen. Touch. Baik ini Loh.
Itu tadi yang bilang. Kan itu biasanya sisa.
Enggak di situ, Mbak. Nyarinya.
Enggak di situ nyarinya, Mbak. Bukan di situ nyarinya, Mbak. Bukan di situ, Mbak. Orang bisa dipencet di situ, Mbak. Maju. Itu tolongin dulu, Mbak. Mbak, bukan di situ, Mbak. Putin. Bukan di situ, Mbak.
Itu buat worknya.
Itu buat Google-nya itu.
Nah,
cocok ya apa? Kirain yang ditonton apa? Kartun bahasa Inggris.
Untung udah dihapus. Untung udah kehilangan.
Sama-sama. Banyak kan Korea kan? Oke.
untung punya gue nggak bisa dipakai.
Untung nggak pakai itu. Oh, punya aku paling Robin untuk berapa ya? Aman. Tahuan gua bunting. Oh, masih aman.
Bapak.
Kalau aku masih aman, punya aku masih aman.
Oke, starting.
Tapi nggak ada suaranya.
Gak ada suara ini. Ini yang ada suaranya.
Yang di laptopnya itu dibuatin.
Oh,
Di toolbarnya itu di bawah.
iya.
Yang di
Lagi.
bawah bukan di situ.
Di laptop
Bawahnya.
Tolong.
Yang punya laptop, tolong yang punya laptop.
Iya, yang nonton kartun Inggris.
Keren kan?
Untung pada pada main.
Itu udah 100.
Selamat ya Allah. Bos. Iya latih.
Isinya Koreaan.
Nanti pada ilfil sama aku.
Enggak kedengeran ya?
Apa ininya?
Speakernya ada nggak?
Speakernya nggak dinyalain. Jangan pencet-pencet loh, sembarangan pencet loh.
Iya, coba.
Coba minta tolong. Tia.
Ada.
Itu mic udah yang ada.
Udah.
Nggak ada suaranya. Coba minta tolong itu loh. Tia. Minta tolong panitia.
Ini udah bisa.
Rasa antika ya?
Itu yang lainnya itu yang lainnya udah dihapus.
Enggak.
Yang aman-aman
Aku udah macem-macem. Anak baik hati.
Coba lihat di story-nya coba.
Enggak, lihat aja bersih.
Biasanya nuduh orang gitu ya.
Iya. Top.
Semi belum.
Enggak sih.
Mas, help.
Ya, harus gitu.
Iya, itu kok itu tidak ada suara.
Minumannya ikut ke syuting.
Harus ada yang colokin kan?
Speakernya.
Oke. Speaker up.
Ya, speaker.
Speaker gimana bacanya? Speaker up. Enggak, lu tadi enggak gitu.
Speaker
coba.
up.
Lu tadi enggak gitu. Lu tadi enggak gitu. Coba action
Eka itu kerjaannya numbangin orang.
Coba action
Speaker up.
Iya. Ih, sumpah.
Telinga lu kayak banyak cengeknya. Emang. Cewek sih.
Cewek tahu. Tuh sebenarnya ngomong itu cewek enggak merasa. Tapi
Cewek cabai coy. Songek.
cabai udah mulai kan?
Mengapa Anda jadi bahas cak?
Loh, kok kita kemarin kan habis ke pasar tuh. Yang kebakaran.
Another reason, a very important reason,
Thank you. Terima kasih.
focus of
Thank you, Mas.
Kamu sebelah sana ya?
I'm here to you with
Ini bisa
another lesson from
dimanfaatkan. Nanti pas
English.com.
waktunya
And
pelajaran.
today's lesson is a little bit complicated, but a little bit basic at the same time. Today we're going to look at the passive form of the verb. Now, before we get to look at the more complicated things, like the 4 reasons to use the passive, let's have a very quick review of what is a passive and how do we construct it. So if we look at a basic sentence, the cat ate the rat. Okay, very easy. We have our subject, we have our verb, and we have our object. Very simple, everybody knows this, no problem. What we have to remember is that in this sentence, the subject is doing the action to the object. Good. In a passive sentence, we are reversing this order, okay? We are going now this way. What was the object is now the subject. And we have a verb, was eaten. By the cat is now less important. If we want to say it, we say it. If we don't, we take it out. But this is now not an object. We call this now the agent. The person or thing that is doing the action. So the difference here is that the subject is now receiving the action. It's very easy, no problem. How do we create the passive? Be verb plus the past participle. Verb 3, some of you call it. Okay, no problem. Now, what we have to concentrate on is the 4 reasons we use the passive. Students always ask me, I know how to use the passive, but why am I using the passive? I can communicate easily, I can speak easily, I can write easily, and never use the passive. Of course you can. But there are reasons to use it. Okay, so the first reason that we would use a passive is because the subject is unknown, obvious, or not important. If we don't know who or what did the action, we can use a passive. If we know very clearly, it's very obvious who did the action, then we can use a passive. If the person or thing that did the action is just not important to our sentence, we can take it out and use the passive. I'm going to give you some examples, don't worry. Another reason, a very important reason, especially when you're writing, is to shift focus of subject. If you want the object of your last sentence to now be the subject of your next sentence, you can use the passive to make that switch. Remember, the cat ate the rat. We switched it. The rat was eaten by the cat. Great. Now, again, coming back to that question, I don't need to use it. I can communicate easily without it. Yes, of course you can. But you want sentence variety. If you say, he did this, he did that, then he did this, then he did that, that's very boring. Nobody wants to listen to it. Really, nobody wants to read it. Trust me. And the last reason is for coherence, to make it something very understandable, and flow, to make your, especially writing, flow from one sentence to the next, one idea to the next. Makes it more enjoyable for the reader. Now, let's look at some specific examples of each one of these reasons. Okay, so let's look at subject is unknown, obvious, not important first. The building was vandalized. Now, first of all, what does vandalize mean? Vandalize means that somebody came and did some damage to the building. Maybe they spray painted, maybe they broke some windows, etc. So, who did this? We don't know. I could say that vandals did this, but I don't need to say it. That comes from the word, it's obvious. I could say that somebody did this, but why? Better to use the passive and concentrate on the building and what happened to it. The flowers were delivered on time. Who delivered it? Well, it's obvious, either the flower company or the delivery company. I don't need to say it, it's very clear that one of these two delivered the flowers. The roads were fixed quickly. Who fixed them? Who cares? They're fixed. That's what's important. I can drive. I'm happy. Now, we can also use the passive, and we commonly use the passive to give information. The airplane was invented in the early 20th century. Exactly when? I don't want to say. Who invented it? I don't want to say. Why? Maybe there's a little controversy there. Maybe not everybody believed the Wright brothers invented the airplane in 1903. So, what do I want to concentrate on? The airplane, right? That's why I'm using the passive. We have to choose what is more important and what is less important. So this is the main reason, this is the most common reason we use the passive. Okay? Let's look at some other reasons. Okay, let's look at the third reason. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten number 2. I'm going to do that after. First, I want to look at sentence variety. Now, why is this important? This is especially important for any of you who are going to take the IELTS or TOEFL. Why? Because you're going to have to write an essay. Many, many points come with this little topic, sentence variety. So now, you could write all your sentences in a standard subject, verb, object. Wait, you could say, he did A, then he did B. After that, he did C. What is the problem with this? No problem. Grammatically, it's okay. In terms of English, you can put nice words in here. Okay. What is the problem? The problem is that it is boring. You don't want a boring essay. You want a fun, lively, engaging essay. This is what the readers are looking for, right? So, how does the passive come into play here, you ask yourself? Well, I'll tell you. The passive allows you to play with sentence structures. It allows you to have different varieties of sentences. He did A, same start. C wasn't done until he had completed B. My mistake here? Not only do you have a passive, you have a past perfect. Bravo! Extra points for you if you can do this. But first you gotta have that passive. You gotta get to that passive first, okay? This gives you sentence variety. Now, when you see the next part, you'll see reasons number 2 and 4 together, you'll understand even more how the passive can create nice sentences, create good flow, make it all easier, and focus the reader's attention on exactly what you want them to, okay? The passive is very powerful. Remember this. Let's look at the next examples. Okay, so now we come to what is probably the most important reason to use the passive. And again, especially for writing, especially for the IELTS and TOEFL. We're looking at shifting focus and creating flow in our writing. So, for example, you are writing an essay about Coca-Cola. What is the most important thing you're going to talk about? Of course, it's Coca-Cola, right? So you want this to be your subject. John Pemberton invented Coca-Cola. We don't really care about John Pemberton. We care about what he invented. So we switch around the sentence, right? Coca-Cola was invented by a pharmacist named John Pemberton. Easy. We put the focus on the Coca-Cola, other information comes later. Now, because he is the last idea we have here, we want to start with him. His original recipe contained cocaine. Okay. Regular sentence, active voice. Why? Because we have John Pemberton, we want to continue with John Pemberton. But now, we want to introduce another new idea. Okay? Which is why the drink was named Coca-Cola. I want to bring the reader back to my original subject, Coca-Cola. So the passive is used for placement. Where do you want to put your topics? Where do you want to put your subject? Where do you want to put your object? Where do you want to put your agent, for that matter? So now, the last idea I'm speaking about is the name Coca-Cola. Remember, this is very important. Today, Coca-Cola, again I'm talking about the name, the product, is a global brand. What is a brand? A brand is basically a name. Right? You see how I connected the ideas, I kept them close to each other. This is where you get flow. Okay? Makes it easy for the reader to follow your ideas. If you have one idea here and then you talk about it again way down there, sometimes the reader can't make the connection. You want to bring ideas that are similar, that are connected, close together. So today, Coca-Cola is a global brand that is consumed by millions of people. Now here, I could say, Coca-Cola is a global brand that millions of people consume. But the millions of people, they're not important. What is important is consumption. This is what you want to focus on. So what do? You put it in a passive. You bring it closer to your original idea, brand. This is the subject. This is another, this is an adjective clause really, but we're putting this closer to what the brand is. The millions of consumers, the millions of people, not really important. We don't care about them. Okay? So, I hope you understand what I did here. I placed focus on the subject I wanted to. I connected ideas together to create flow. And, most of all, I have sentence variety. I don't say, John Pemberton invented Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola had cocaine. He named the drink Coca-Cola because of the cocaine, right? It's very, very boring, very blah. If you know what blah means, it means boring. So, what do? We have variety, we have flow, we have focus, everybody's happy, and who's the happiest? You, when you get your high IELTS and TOEFL score. Okay? Great. Thank you very much for joining me today. Please go to ingrid.com. There's a quiz there for you.
Yes, everybody happy?
Yes.
Alright, thank you. That was the video to get the whole idea of passive voice for you to make it clear. And again, lagi passive voice itu yang perlu difokuskan satu yang penting itu tadi ada sentence yang perlu dilihat, and then tensesnya perlu dilihat, and then kita fokus ke what happened to the object. Subject don't really matter. Yes? So far so good?
Nanti kan ada sesi
Ya,
pertanyaan.
ya.
Iya.
Alright, jadi tadi ada beberapa dari teks yang di mention in the video. There are a few passive voice that were written there, and I've put it on the board. And if there are any questions that I would like to ask you, see if you really understand how does this work. Yes, Mr. Jimmy can use
dia udah nangkap saya.
See the tenses, and then bentuk kalimat apa aktif atau pasif? Kalau aktif dipasifkan, kalau pasif diaktifkan.
Times your buktikan bahwa kamu satu bisa bingung maksudnya.
Make passive and active voice.
Iya,
You have to make it. Ayo aja.
Nah,
Kopi Suki.
This is passive voice. Jadi bikin aktif nih.
yes, and what sentence?
Ini simple past. Benar.
We ask the audience.
Ini aktif. Performance. Inventive. Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola. Tahu dia.
Jadi sekarang ini.
Alright.
Oh. Jadi kalau aktif dan pasif tuh kita fokus ke itu aja verbnya. Ke verbnya. So pakai verb three. Kuncinya.
Oh, but the difference is the difference perbedaan. Thank you.
Bye.
May sit down.
Bilang bye.
Yes, may sit down.
Boleh.
Perbedaan invented di sini sama invented di sini. If you see the passive voice, this is verb 3. And then kalau di sini verb
Satu lah.
Iya.
simple past.
Oh, dua.
Ya. Karena ini regular, ed, tapi beda penempatan ini past participle verb 3, verb 2. Ya. Pasifnya verb 3, aktifnya verb 2. Why?
Why?